Logan Wells. I'm here in my kitchen today doing a little baking. I saw this recipe on TV over the holidays and I just thought it sounded so delicious I had to make it and try it. I'm a huge shortbread fan, have been for many, many years. This is called Millionaire's Shortbread. So what it is a homemade shortbread, then it's covered with a caramel type topping, and that's covered with a chocolate type topping, and then you cut it into bars. And it just looked so delicious. So I'm so excited to try this recipe. It's the very first time I'm making it, so we can do this together. All right, the most important thing is to line your 13 by 9 baking pan. And I don't mean a cookie sheet, I mean like a cake pan. It's gotta have a little bit of depth to it, so this is about a couple inches. But we're gonna line this with foil this way, and then line it with foil this way as well. So you make sure that you're able to lift out the entire shortbread thing after you're all done to dump it out to cut it into the bars. And it's very, very important that you cover the entire thing with foil for easy removal. Okay, so I've got my pan. Meanwhile, I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And I'm just gonna take one of the pieces that's longer than the pan itself and lay that down into the inside. I'm going to kind of flatten that out. Alright. Then take another piece, put that on this end. So the entire thing is lined with the tin foil. This takes a little bit of maneuvering here, but it's going to be so well worth it. One more piece here. That one there. Fold it over. That all the way up against the edges. And now our whole cake pan is completely covered with the tin foil. Now I'm going to gather my ingredients to make the shortbread. I've got 2½ cups of flour, a ½ cup of white granulated sugar, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And whisk that together. And then you're going to melt 16 tablespoons of unsalted butter, which equals 1 cup, 2 sticks of butter. A spatula here so I can get every bit of that. Yum. Whenever I see butter melted like that, I'm like, where's the lobster? All right. There you go. So this is a basic shortbread recipe. Get that out of that. Just get a wooden spoon. Washed your hands really good. You just get right in there and kind of mix that up. It's basically, it almost feels like a pie crust, but it's like barely sticking together. Which, if you are a shortbread fan, you know that those cookies are just really a nice, very buttery, melt in your mouth kind of cookie dough. All right, so we're going to take this and put it into the pan and press it into the bottom of the pan. Get all of that in there. Kind of evenly break that up to cover the bottom, and then you just kind of press it in evenly with your hands. pressing. Try to get it even around the entire pan. Trying to pack this firmly because I don't want the cookie part to crumble or break apart when I go to cut them later into the bars. So you want to make sure you get it in there really packed. That's feeling pretty good to me. Now we're going to take a fork and poke holes about every inch or so. Okay. Now we're going to bake our shortbread cookie base at 350 degrees for 25 minutes until it's light golden brown. Next, we're going to make our caramel filling while the shortbread is baking, because this takes about 20 minutes to cook, and then you need to let it cool down completely for about an hour and a half. So first you're going to take one 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, which is always a good base for homemade caramel. 1 cup of brown sugar, and then a ½ teaspoon of salt, and you're going to take a ½ cup of butter, 1 stick, and add that. And I like to cut it into pieces because it melts a little quicker and easier that way than trying to get the whole stick to melt at once. And you're going to use, what did I just do with, oh, there's my spatula, a ½ cup of corn syrup. So put all of that into a saucepan, medium sized. And we're gonna, I've got this on high, I'm gonna get this to start melting and then turn it to like a medium to medium high heat. We need to get this to 236 to 239 degrees. And I bought what I thought was a candy thermometer the last time I made caramel, and it turned out it wasn't that. It was a meat thermometer, but this I found in the store. It's a handy dandy little probe, and it does go up to the 237 degrees, so we are going to go ahead and use that, and I'm going to see how that works. So this is starting to heat up. Once it melts and it kind of starts to come to a boil, I'm going to add a ½ cup of heavy cream. Got everything mixing well. We're just waiting for that butter to melt and bring it to a boil. The most important part when you're making the caramel topping is to keep stirring, because you don't want that brown sugar that you poured in there to burn on the bottom. So I would suggest bringing it to maybe medium high to get everything melted, but continuously keep stirring so it doesn't burn on the bottom. Caramel is a labor of love. Oop, I'm gonna take that off for a minute because my shortbread is coming out. Shortbread's coming out the oven. There it is, all nice and light and golden brown. So we're just going to set that off to cool over here while we keep working on our caramel. So it's just starting to come to a little bit of a boil. I'm going to turn that down. Keep stirring it. You don't want it to burn. It's kind of bubbling. This is where you add your cream. That was a 1/4 cup. It needs a 1/2 cup, so I'm adding 1 more. There you go. It's a beautiful color. But this is where, while you're letting your shortbread cool over here, you're going to be cooking your caramel. Since I put the cream in it, it's probably cooled it off a little bit. So now it's got to come back up to the temperature we want. I'm going to let this go about 5 more minutes and then do a little temperature reading. I've got it down to almost low now, and it's still bubbling. So I'll put that in there. Boy, it's going right up there. Whew. When I saw this recipe on TV, they said it would cook for 15 to 20 minutes. But this is already up to 212, 213, 250. It's going up there. So as soon as it gets to that 237, that's your magic number. And it starts to get a real golden color. I can see it's thickening already. Now we're stuck at 218 for now, so 220. Still turn that down a little bit more. I just don't want this to burn. Yeah, it's up to about 225. I've still got this on medium-low, and it is just at a full boil, and I cannot stress enough to constantly stir. You don't want this to burn on the bottom and ruin all your ingredients and have it have a burnt taste. So keep on stirring with the whisk. $225. We need to get it to 237. Okay, so I've been cooking this for about 10 to 12 minutes, and it is really at a full boil. And I can tell the consistency is starting to change just a little bit by the way the bubbles almost start looking like little craters instead of bubbles. It's hard to explain, but I can see the color changing as well. It's starting to get that nice golden brown color, that caramels that we would eat as kids or to make caramel apples with. That's the color consistency it's getting. So kind of like letting it try to get the heat to go up. We're at 230. We need 7 more degrees to be on the safe side. You don't want to take it off too early because then it will not have the right consistency. Candies are really fidgety about the temperature when you're making that, what do they call it, hard crack candy. Yeah, it's got to be just the right temperature or it will not crack. It'll be more gooey and gummy. So we're still at 230 degrees, 231, 232. It's getting there. Making a little stir. Feels like it's thickening even a little bit more. We're stuck at 232. Come on! $235. We're almost there. 236. One more degree and I can take this off. There we go. My little timer's going off. We've hit 237 degrees. I'm going to turn that off. And turn that off. Okay, so I want to give you just an idea of what this looks like now that we've taken it off. It's a little bit, you know, thicker consistency. I can tell it's thickened up. If you kind of like hold that up, you can see it. It's a little syrupy kind of drip. And I'm just going to keep giving this an occasional stir because I don't want it to burn on the bottom. Since it's just come off the heat, I would continue just lightly stirring it because this is going to take a good hour to an hour and a half to cool off completely to where we're going to be able to spread it on top of the shortbread. It smells so good. Whew, I'll tell you what, either I was having a hot flash or I was just getting really hot standing over that caramel cooking it. And of course the oven was on too, baking the shortbread. So now that that's out and the caramel is cooling, you take the back of a spatula and we're going to press down on this shortbread while it's still hot out of the oven. Okay? So I'm going to use one of these. It's a plastic one that's very flat. And I'm just going to start pressing down to make sure this is really nice and firm in the pan. You don't want your bars falling apart when you cut them. As they say, how the cookie crumbles. Well, we don't want that. We want them to stay nice and firm, and then they will melt in your mouth instead of falling all over, because you don't want to waste one crumb of this. Oh, I can't even tell you how good this smells. Wow. Love me some shortbread, and I have never made it before, so this is going to be a surprise for the both of us. Okay, make sure that stays up there. And I think we've got this pretty firmly pressed in here now. So, all right, so we're going to let this cool. And then when our caramel has cooled, we're going to put that topping on, and then there's going to be a chocolate topping on top of that. So my shortbread has cooled over here in the window. So we are ready to put our cooled caramel sauce on next. Okay, so we're just gonna start taking that caramel. Look at that, oh my gosh. That just looks decadent. Ugh. I think I could just sit here and eat this whole pan of caramel by the spoonful. The trick is getting it all out of there and being able to spread this evenly while it's still soft and chewy. I think I got every drop out of there. All right. Now, I took a spatula like this that I would use for frosting a cake, and I rubbed a little bit of butter on it so that this wouldn't stick to it. I'm going to hopefully see if that helps this work a little better. And it seems to be working quite nicely. So you're just going to spread that all the way to the corners. Same thing this way. Kind of dragging the caramel down because you want to get it evenly spread so everybody gets some yummy, chewy caramel on their cookie. Okay, and using something this size too makes it a little easier to actually get more of an even spread, flatten it out. spread a lot easier than what I thought it was going to when I was feeling the consistency in the pan with the other spatula. So there you go. Let's make that nice and smooth. I think that's as close as we're going to get to flat. All right. So now our caramel is done, and I'm going to begin melting the chocolate for the top. Now, here's where you can vary things up a little bit. I am not a huge bittersweet chocolate fan. Chocolate chip cookies with the regular bittersweet chocolate chips, they're okay. I mean, I'll eat it, but it's not like I love them. But I do love milk chocolate chips. So I'm going to use milk chocolate for this topping versus the one that I saw on TV that used the bittersweet chocolate. So you're going to take your milk chocolate chips and about 6 ounces at a time, put it in the microwave for 15-second increments, stirring between every 15 seconds until it gets to a nice melted consistency. So I put about 6 to 8 ounces into a bowl, microwave safe dish, and cook that for about 15-20 seconds and then stir it. Stir. Counting 14, 15. Melt it a little more. The trick is you don't want to overheat your chocolate because then it becomes grainy and it's very hard to work with. You want to get it to just melt to where it's going to be spreadable, smooth and glossy for this topping. Try that again. I'll give you a look at what this looks like. I've done it, what, 3 times so far? And it's got probably 1 more to go. And then we'll check to see the consistency. Perfect. It's nice and smooth. And it's got a nice glossy appearance to it as well. So we're going to spread this on the shortbread. And the caramel, I should say. Okay, this bowl is hot, so I'm going to have to try to hold it with a hot pad while I'm getting some of this chocolate out onto here. That is supposed to be a microwave safe bowl, but it got hot. All right, so we'll spread this first. I'm wondering if I might need to melt just a little bit more chocolate. I don't want to get stingy on it, so I think it's going to need 1 more cup. This is going to be good to do about half. Yep. All right, so we'll melt another 6 to 8 ounces and cover the other half. All right, there's our second batch, and again, that came out really nice. That works very well doing the 15-second increment in stirring. Okay. And my spatula is here. Man, that is hot. Well, we'll just have to do it like, nope, like that. got as much of it out as I could. So that's all spread on there. Almost done. Almost done. Okay, that's pretty even. And again, I think if we use this spatula just one last time to get that as flat as we can. That looks pretty. And I've got some chocolate to lick off the spoons. So it's all put together now. We're gonna put it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna remove the tin foil from the bottom, and we're going to cut these into bars. What? I'm not eating any chocolate. So it's actually been about a half an hour for this chocolate to set up, meaning that it's not real creamy and moving around. It's set, so you can touch it without it getting on your fingers. So, but it's not real hard, because when we're cutting this, we don't want it to be cracking, right? All right, so now we get to remove it out of the pan. I'm gonna be cutting this on my big cutting board so I don't mar my sink tops. And this is why it was so important to wrap the entire thing around the edges so that you'll be able to get this out easily. Alright, came out, and then, ooh, that one little part is still a little soft. Then you're going to kind of peel off the tin foil. Remove that from the bottom. Get it all off. You don't want anybody eating any tin foil. There's some maybe stuck to this one little piece on the bottom. There we go. That out of there, and that little piece out there. All right, I'm just checking for any other little pieces of tin foil. Nope, we're good. So what I've got basically is a big giant cookie bar. All right, now we're gonna cut this. There we go. It's kind of hard to do. Got that bar. We'll cut another one. There we go. Now that I've kind of gotten used to how this is the feel of this, it's gonna go a little easier. Now we can cut these into thirds. How about that? We'll do thirds. Let me get a plate out. Get a plate out. Start putting these on the plate. I can't stand it anymore. I have to try one. Okay, so here's one of the bars, and look how pretty they are. You've got your shortcake down here, then you've got your layer of that really beautiful golden caramel and the milk chocolate topping. Let's try it. Oh my God. Just that caramel alone is to die. Because it's not that chewy, hard caramel. It's a soft, silky caramel. Oh my God, so good. And the shortbread is amazing. And of course the milk chocolate, it's milk chocolate, so it's all good. But the three of these together, that is heaven. So good. Man, you want to take a treat to somebody, this is it. Really good. These are so good. That's why they're called $1 million shortbreads. And they do taste like $1 million. Do I share? Actually, after tonight, I'm going to put these in an airtight Tupperware container so that they stay nice and fresh and chewy. But I don't think these are going to last long. Here come my boys to try them out. Well,
it's all right.
Okay, what do you think? All right. God, if that's all it takes, I made these a long time ago. Steve, what do you think?
Awesome.